Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carrot Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2017 romantic drama titled Phantom Thread. Now, Phantom Thread runs for 2 hours and 10 minutes long. It is directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. It is produced by Joanne Seller, Paul Thomas Anderson, Megan Ellison, and Daniel Lupi. The script was written by Paul Thomas Anderson. The score was done by Johnny Greenwood. The cinematography by Paul Thomas Anderson. And it was edited by Dylan Ticknor. And the stars of the movie are Daniel Day-Lewis in what was to be his final acting role before stepping out of Hollywood for good. Well, I don't know if it's going to be actually confirmed that he's going to be gone for good, because you never know. Maybe once the money goes down, he'll probably want to make a comeback. So, let's not jump to conclusions to say that this is his swan song. Maybe he might come back again. Who knows? I don't know. It's up to him. His choice. He's paid his dues, so I'm sure if he wishes to retire, the more power to him. Also joining us is Vicky Krieps. We also have Lesley Manville, Camilla Rutherford, Gina McKee, Brian Gleeson, Harriet Sansom Harris, Julia Davis, Nicholas Mander, Philip Franks, Phyllis McMahon, Silas Carson, Richard Graham, and Jane Perry. So, under the direction and script by Paul Thomas Anderson, Phantom Thread is a bit of a mix genre of romantic interludes combined with some scenes that lie somewhere even in the thriller genre. I mean, there are some actual moments that have some scenes that can be at times, a little bit disturbing. I've actually seen it, and there's some pretty dark elements in this movie. At first glance, it starts off as a period piece costume drama situated in the 1950s London, but then we later get into some sort of more Hitchcock-inspired thriller as envy, obsession, and codependency starts to take over the story. The thrill ride only comes into prominence in the second half of the movie. All I can say is patience is a requirement. So if you're not really into too much of the schmaltzy period piece costume elements, I suggest wait a bit before things start to get a little more steamier and a little more macabre. But it's not done in like an over-the-top fashion, but more or less in a much more quieter levels of diabolicalism comes into prominence by the time you get to the second half of the movie. It was Daniel Day-Lewis's final acting role. He definitely truly goes out in style, starring as dress designer who goes by the name of Reynolds Woodcock. He is a man dedicated to his craft, even though he has a few obsessions that can at times rest under the category of very, very unsettling. I don't want to be the judgmental of anyone's mental health issues, but I think I can assure you that Reynolds Woodcock is a classic example of a person with Asperger's syndrome, which means that he doesn't really have time for very much socialization. He lives a very routine lifestyle. He wants things always done in a particular way. He does not like surprises. He does not like it when one thing that malfunctions during his day, because if you fuck up one thing element during his day, like putting his toast on a plate in a wrong particular way, it ruins him. He does not like his routine broken, and most of the time he spends a lot of his days in his workshop creating some of the most exquisite gowns, and he is a prize-winning costume designer. But just don't stand in the way of his routines. I mean, let's face it, he is good. For one thing, as good as he is of his craft, he is prone to being a perfectionist, which could lead him to being quite short-tempered and volatile. His agenda is very routine, just like a typical Aspie, and he has a disdain for surprises. I should know, because I'm under the autistic spectrum myself, and I'm not afraid or ashamed to admit it. But sometimes I am a bit of a perfectionist, and I can sometimes be a bit short-tempered and volatile, and I'm not really particularly fond of surprises either. In fact, I hate surprise parties. If you invite me to a surprise party, I'm going to tell the person that there is a surprise party. That way he or she won't be surprised. And I don't care if I never get invited to another surprise party again, because I hate surprise parties and I hate surprises. His love for his craft is admirable, but his demeanor is distant and arrogant. Whether it's just his natural human psyche, or if it's just all in sync to his routine life, I don't know. He resides with his sister, who is also his assistant. She goes by the name of Cyril, played by Lesley Manville, who ensures his work is never distracted. She cleans up after him, serves as a wedge to anyone who may get in the way of his passion. The complexity of Reynolds' character is the brightest gray you can come up with. You like him in some areas, and then there are just some parts of you just simply can't stand. And that's kind of like what a typical Asperger syndrome person is like. There are some areas where you have a lot of great fondness for this person. But because this person cannot be always entirely likable, there's just some parts where you just simply wish you could just simply tell him to fuck off. As he was having breakfast in a nearby diner, a waitress by the name of Alma, played by Vicky Krieps, catches eyes towards him, soon his life is challenged forever. They converse with each other. He takes her over to his place for dinner, and pretty soon she is hired as his muse, because she's got this natural voluptuous figure who could model these dresses that he creates. And because she's got this natural beauty and I guess bonus points that she's young, like in her early 20s. All the better. Because let's face it, in the modeling industry, most people seem to cater or gravitate towards 20-somethings to model off their clothes before their body fades out by the time they reach their 30s. True story. But then his anger issues become more frequent as their friendship starts to fade away, and soon it becomes her mission to lure him away from the controlling nature of his sister. Now, unlike the other women that Reynolds had dumped, Alma has a much thicker shell to crack. So in other words, what I'm saying here is that Alma has potential to be a long-going muse, but if she doesn't react soon, she's going to fall victim to the chewing gum effect. And do you know what I mean by the chewing gum effect? Well, how do you describe chewing gum? When you first put chewing gum in your mouth, you chew on it, and it's got this sweet, sugary taste to it. You put it in your mouth for like 2-3 minutes, and you got nothing but sugary sweetness. By the time you get around to the 5-minute mark, it loses its flavor, it becomes dull, and your gum becomes less interesting. And what do you do with gum that loses its interest and loses its flavor? You go to a nearby garbage can and you spit it out. Well, the chewing gum is pretty much like the women in his life. He'll use them as muses for his financial gain and for the success of his dresses. But once they lose their significance, well then, there's the door. Don't trip on your way out. Thank you. Thank you for being my muse, and I hope to never see you again. That's just the way he thinks. Alma, if she didn't react the way she does, she would have been just another decoy. But Alma is stubborn. She's not going to let go of this opportunity that easily. She's going to stick around. She's going to prove that her and Reynolds were made for each other. And she'll do anything. Even to the point where she could and had almost succeeded in killing him. That's right. I'll explain more of that. After hoping to take their relationship to the level of romantic partners, her obsession towards him takes on a much more sinister level, and soon both their darker characterizations go into overdrive. Now, what I mean by sinister level, well, let's just say I think she would need a surveillance camera the next time she fixes Reynolds another bowl of mushroom soup. Now I know I love cream of mushroom soup. But if it's going to be homemade cream of mushroom soup, I think we should get it more from a Campbell's can. But then again, I would also suggest for you guys to cook it, because I don't want you to eat it raw. Otherwise, salmonella poisoning, and I don't want to take chances at that. But in her case, if she's going to make homemade cream of mushroom soup, you better keep an eye on her, because those mushrooms are not going to get you high. They're going to get you sick. That's right. She almost poisoned him to death, just so that she can stay as his live-in girlfriend forever. Sure, it's hard to perform in these complex stories, but Daniel Day-Lewis is the best performer here, and his support from Lesley Manville is the perfect foil for his character, along with the unpredictable nature of Vicky Krieps' Elma. For a young lady, Krieps definitely does have a bright future here in the acting community industry, and I think she actually turns in an excellent performance here. She's very young. There's a lot of great years left for her, and she actually succeeds in keeping Alma subtle in her psyche and can come off tamer than intended for. I mean, her schemes and her manipulation is not done in a drastic, over-the-top perspective. She's not a deranged psychopath. She's more like a silent psychopath, one that may probably think she's doing nothing harmful, but I'm guessing she's probably doing more harm than good in that way. Under that naive personality, she can come off more conniving and macabre, though she feels as though she's doing nothing wrong. And you know what? That's the worst kind of villains out there. When villains do bad things, they're saying they're doing it all for the world of good, when really they're doing anything but good. Under the pet project of Paul Thomas Anderson, he will most likely not cater to the requests to the fans and bite into their demands to hurry in on the action. That's just not how he operates. He will run the show at his own pace, and if you don't like it, too fucking bad. So, if you're expecting fast-paced scenes, well, do look further, because it's not happening here. Though I'm not a scholar when it comes to fashion, I do like the little details that's carried out. It shows that Anderson has the essence of knowledge of what he's setting up against and the styles that come with the period. So in the end, Phantom Thread is a film that depends more on character interactions as opposed to narrative dependency. The pacing is slow at the beginning, but it gets faster in the second half. That's equally provocative and disturbing, but will leave you with a lasting impression. So I truly, strongly, highly recommend that you all see this movie for its subtle thriller type levels, while at the same time the costuming, the settings, the cinematography was brilliant. This was a brilliant film, and if this is Daniel Day-Lewis's swan song in acting, then I think he really did go out in style. You know, some people tend to finish their movie career by appearing in a rather shitty movie that's going to get negative backlash. At least if Daniel Day-Lewis is really true to his words and this is his last film, then I would say, congratulations, you left with a lasting impression. Maybe we will hope to see you back again, but if you should retire, then, you know, that's your prerogative. You're entitled to your own career choice. But just remember, this is a good way to get sent off. And I wish you the very best in your future endeavors. So if I was to give this a scale out of 10, I would give Phantom Thread a 9. So I guess this ends my ride review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember the 3 simple rules. Be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any rude comments. And I'll be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.